Hello, everybody. This is Lynn Tremonti with the Ohio Immigrant Alliance.
And I'm Mariam C., also with the Ohio Immigrants Alliance.
We're here in sunny Cleveland Heights, Ohio. It's actually November, almost December, and there was snow on the ground, but it melted. So
Yes.
we're sitting outside enjoying the sun. We are here to answer some of the most common questions that we get on the ReuniteUS WhatsApp group. We will go ahead and answer those in English, and then Miriam is going to do some audio translations in other languages. So we're going to just kick it off, and let's
Sure.
start with the
Yes.
first question.
So, Lynn, what is the ReuniteUS WhatsApp group?
Okay, the ReuniteUS WhatsApp group is a group of people who were deported from the United States after living here for a long time, or who left the country because they were going to be deported or they were worried about being deported. And they also lived here a long time. It's also open to family members of people who were deported. And the thing that we all have, or that everybody in the group has in common, is not only that they were deported, but that they want to come back to the United States, and they want to share information and work together where possible to change laws and policies to make it easier for people who were deported to come back.
Mm-hmm.
There are other WhatsApp groups that are working with people who never lived in the United States and were unfairly deported. Thinking of a lot of asylum seekers who traveled through the Darien Gap and came to southern border and were detained in U.S. immigration jails and then were deported. If you fit in that group, there's another group for you. It's called Freedom for U.S. So Reunite U.S. is really for people who had built lives here and want to come back to the U.S.
Thank you so much, Lynn.
Yeah. So Miriam's been interviewing several people, and I think that we just have a basic question, Miriam, which is, why are you doing these interviews?
So, the reason why we are interviewing people is to collect information. So, as we know, the goal of ReuniteUS is to bring people back who were deported or people who chose to leave before being deported. So, we collect your information and then we try to reach out to lawyers. So, the advice that we have is for you guys to reach out to your lawyer if you have one, or if your family is in touch with your lawyer, because we cannot go through this process without lawyers. So if you have any paperwork, or if your family can collect any paperwork, please do so. Because like Lynn said, we have over 250 people in the group, and we are still in need of legal help to gather those information. We need to reach out to the government. So please, if you have a lawyer, or if your family is in touch with your lawyer, reach out to them and get as much documentation as you can on your immigration case.
I think, can I add something?
Sure.
I think one thing that gets confusing is that we collect all this information and then people are asking, well, what's going on with my case? So I want to just be clear that we're collecting this information in the hopes that someday we will have more lawyers who can work on these cases. We are also collecting the information so that we can tell the Biden administration how big the problem is, and give them some facts about you. How many of you have children in the US, how long you lived here, average of 20 years, things like that. We're not actively working on your immigration cases right now. We are hopeful that we can get to a point where there are enough lawyers in this project who can work on cases one by one, but we are not there yet, and that's what we're working towards.
Yes. So please, guys, reach out to your lawyer and get as much paperwork as you can. So, Lee, my next question to you will be, what happens next?
Right. Okay. So this is such a good question. Basically, pretend that uh, there's a presidential campaign, and we're trying to elect President Miriam C. And so we need to create a campaign around Reunite US. Our candidate, the person that we are electing, is return from deportation. We have to have a public campaign to convince the public and convince the decision makers to allow people to come back to the United States. So, in a presidential campaign, at least in the United States, a lot of their focus is on doing events and the news media, getting sympathetic stories in the news media. So that's really where we are right now, is telling your stories in the media. That could be TV, radio, newspapers, mostly in the US, but also internationally. And Miriam has been doing some great interviews, particularly talking about Mauritanians who were deported. Um, but we want to do everything with everybody. Ibrahima Keita from Mali has done some media interviews. Gora Ndiaye from Mauritania, now in Senegal, has done some. Several of you have. And so, but we need more of that. We need more people who are willing to be interviewed by the media, because we have to convince the public that this is important, and that will give the Biden administration comfort in allowing people to come home. First, we have to take this to the big media, to the American people.
Thank you, Lynn.
So let's see, where are we at? Okay, so Miriam, okay. I'm just trying to make sure I get the essence of this question. Okay. So what can the people that are in the WhatsApp group do?
So, as you know, we are based in the United States. The Ohio Immigrants Alliance is based here in Cleveland. We have people who are helping us and we're advocating from all over. We have people in Columbus like Hole Cham and people from all over the country, but we are based here. But what we're trying to do is for the government to change their policies and to make some changes. So people who were deported can be brought back in the US. And as you know, it's a very long process. It is not going to take days. It's not going to take months or years. It's going to take several years because you guys lived here. You know how immigration laws work. We can't change this overnight. But like Lynn said, what we can do is advocate and speak out, post videos, have as much testimonies, audio recordings, video recordings. Abdullah Lam's spouse did an awesome interview on the Columbus Dispatch, and she spoke about how her and her husband and her family was separated. Her husband was deported from America to Mauritania. And so that's what we want to do. A lot of people who came back from Mexico, for example, had cases that were publicized. So the American people saw it on TV. That's what we're trying to do. We want you guys to speak up and talk about the cases. So do you want to add anything about that, Lynn?
Kind of, and it gets into the next question, which is what can you guys do? How can you help yourselves come back to the United States? And as we mentioned before, we are not providing lawyers at this point for every person because we don't have the money to do that. But we are hoping that a few people will start to file cases to return to the US and prove that it's possible. So some of you have US spouses and are waiting for your green card. When you get a decision, if you get a positive decision and you have a date that you're coming back, if you're willing to show what that looks like in the media and let people take recordings of it on video and let TV cover your return to the US, that will show people that return is possible and that it feels good and it's a good thing that we should do. Other people are applying for something called humanitarian parole, which is a temporary status in the US, but anybody can apply for it. So if you should look up humanitarian parole on the government websites, or if you have an attorney, they will help you apply for that. The biggest sticking point or the biggest hurdle for humanitarian parole applying is you may need a sponsor, and that's that a person who says that they will be financially responsible for you, and they have to show some paperwork. So if you guys are filing humanitarian parole, if you get the ability to come back, again, if you allow us and the news media to chronicle your return, it's part of the public campaign to elect Reunite US, because while it's important to show the trauma and the sadness and the of family separation, we also think it's important to show the joy of families coming back together. And I think that it will be crucial to letting the Biden administration say, I want to do this more, and making the policies easier.
Thank you so much, Lynn.
Yeah. Let's see. What next question do we have? I think we kind of answered that. Yeah.
Mhm.
I guess, can I mention this though?
Yes,
Something
yes,
about
yes.
the media,
Sure.
and then you can add if you've got anything.
Yeah.
So some media require you to use your name and your picture. We're not we're not going to ever pressure you to do that. You should only do what you're comfortable with. You can There are options. Of course, you can use your full name and all of your facts and information, and that's your right to do that. If you are a little uncomfortable with that, you can have them refer to you by another name. You can change a few details about your country of origin or where you lived or something like that. You also have the option of not being photographed at all, or being photographed from only from here down. So they could photograph your hands, you know, photograph you in your home, but not show your face. There's a different options too. You could show your face, but not use your real name. So it's what you are comfortable with is what's important, and never ever feel pressured to do something or be public about something that you don't want to be. But the other part is that you also have to always say the truth. And so you can change a couple details just for privacy reasons, but don't make up things about how you came to the US, or change, facts about your case, because that could end up hurting you longer term in your case.
That's right. Thank you
So,
so much, Lynn.
yeah. This is oh, sorry. Do we have any more questions? I want to ask you some questions.
So sure.
Okay, we covered that.
Um,
Yeah. Oh, will I? Okay. This is the big question. Okay. Yes. This is the money.
Yes.
They call this the money,
Money
question.
Yeah.
Miriam,
So,
will everybody in the group be able to come back to the United States?
well, it's really not up to us, but it's up to the Biden administration and to God, I believe. But you have the power in your hands. You need to gather as much information as you can, because we need to tell your stories publicly. We saw examples of families being reunited at the south border, of people who lived here for a couple years, for 20 years, for 15 years. But those stories were in the media, they were on TV. People talk about it. It's cruel. People don't know about the ReuniteUS campaign,
Yeah.
but they will know if we talk about it in the media with pictures or with videos or stories about it. So, like Lynn says, if you're not comfortable showing yourself, it's fine. But it's true, and it's a fact that when we show it to people on TV or in the media, it has more power. So there's documentaries, for example, on Netflix or HBO about families being reunited. And those families were in the news media, and people talk about it. And that's how you make pressure on the government, because we have voices, but it starts with you guys. Your voice, use your voice. It's your right to talk about the struggle and the pain. Some of you don't have kids or wives or families, but have been working here for 20 plus years, so it's only fair for you guys to come back if you wish to come back. Please, if you can, if you're willing to record your voice, to record yourself, you don't have to say your name. We need to make it public, so the American people can see the stories about what's happening. Um, so, Lynn, what happens if someone has a criminal record, if they want to come back to the U.S.? What happened about that?
Right. It's important if you have a criminal record of any kind that you let us know when you do the interview with Miriam or one of the other team members. Um, it won't help you to lie about it. It'll actually hurt your case. And, eventually, if you have a criminal record, eventually it will be found out. But the question is at what point in the process? And you could get further along in that, but it's going to be found out. So you have to be honest. We do not expect anybody to be we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. People make mistakes, and also we know that bad things happen, and that the police often, you know, charge people with things that they're not even guilty of. So we understand that people have some of these things in their past, and we just need to know about it. That includes a DUI. That includes any sort of assault, any misdemeanors, and of course felonies and above from that.
About
Okay, and then I got the last question is, I've tried to reach somebody to get interviewed, and I haven't heard from anybody yet. Why haven't I heard from anybody yet? And I guess I'm going to answer my own question.
yeah.
Okay, to say that Miriam is a mom and also has other stuff. And so she cannot interview everybody immediately. But she is really organized and really good at um, making sure that she follows up with people. So you may not hear from her for a few weeks. But that is not a cause for concern. If 2 months go by and you have not heard from her, maybe send her a direct message on WhatsApp or something like that. And please don't call her a lot or much, or
Yeah,
if at all, because
private message works the best. You can, and then sometimes I miss the private messages because, like she said, I'm a mom and I have other jobs to do also. So I'm not always on WhatsApp. So I turn the application off or I turn on ringers. But please leave me a private message. I will get to you. It sometimes takes me up to 4 weeks to get to people, but I will interview everybody. We're asking everyone, please, to be patient and also to be kind and respectful in the group. We're asking people to participate. The group was created to reunite people with their loved ones and to bring people who had lives in the US. So we all share the same goal and we all share the same love. We appreciate you guys so much, and we appreciate that you are sharing your personal stories with us. And so please, let's be kind. Let's be mindful that we are amongst people from all around, and we're all different, but at the same time, we're all the same in our fights. So so yeah, do you want to add anything about that?
no, just I guess I will. Like I said no, and then I started talking, but I think Miriam closed it out perfectly, and I just wanted to say that for me this is um, it's a real honor to be able to get to know you a little bit over the WhatsApp group and over some of your deportation cases. And just know that you've touched a lot of people's lives here in the United States. It's not just me and Miriam that are fighting for you. There's many, many people who think that your rightful place is back here and will join us in this campaign. But you are at the center. This is about you.
Yes.
So thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.